Hello and welcome back to Retropical podcast, where it's just us two dudes hanging out, sharing things about things we want to talk about and share. I butchered the introduction once again, but whatever. You're with Shannon and Leonard. It's been a while. Hi, Leonard.
Hello.
It's been a while.
It definitely has been.
Yeah, I think a lot of things have happened.
That's
Leonard
a
has.
that's an understatement.
I mean, I think you listeners probably got to listen to the first few, what? Oh my god, I can't even speak anymore. But like the last few episodes were like it's coming out. It's been out pretty. You know what? I can't speak anymore. But it's
It's
been a
been
while.
okay. Let me just do it for you. So the
Go on,
previous episodes that we've done, like, 3 weeks ago was already out. But it just wasn't particularly edited and
yeah,
like wasn't
yeah,
published. But we
yeah.
had that episode for a while.
Yes. So coming in here, it's been almost about a week or two, right, since we actually have been doing another podcast, right? Yeah. And many things have happened. You've been to the mountains more than once, I think, already. You've gone to the mountains back and then gone there again and then came
Yeah,
back.
I went there twice since our like
Last
last episode
podcast.
or last
Yeah, yeah.
podcast. Yeah, I've been there twice.
Yeah, and then we got news about close friend of ours.
I think on the second trip as well. That was on like the second
Yeah,
mountain trip.
yeah. Yeah, last week actually, right?
Yeah, it was last week. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're,
God damn. It was such a like I didn't expect it to be so soon either. Like I mean like the moment that's why the moment I found out that like you guys were like scheduling the call and whatever, uh
I
I
didn't
was in
even
such a rush.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I mean, for those of you who don't understand what we're talking about, it's basically one of our close friends have announced to us that they're getting married, and that was just a huge shock to us because it was like all of a sudden, and I mean, we're happy for them, but it's just it was just like out of nowhere.
It was a huge shock to us all.
Yeah, and they're kind of like abroad right now, so we can't really celebrate it with them, but we're trying our best, so we will attend it in the next few weeks of the wedding. But yeah, apart from that, I guess today we're coming back with a fresh new topic. It's
Yes.
pretty fresh because I feel like we've never talked about this before at all. Last week we talked about cartoons, and I feel like we've often talk about it, like talk about Disney, talk about our childhood like songs that we remember of Disney. But today I think we're leaning more to the more like adultish side of topic. Well, not really adultish, but
Not adult, but like a lot more
business
formal,
kind of. Yeah.
like formal, very business look at
Yeah.
a
So
topic. Yeah.
yeah, so it's not more of like our hobbies or our favorites or whatever, but it's more of just looking into the situation of this particular business strategy, if I can say
Yeah,
that.
I suppose you
Yeah.
could say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, today's topic will be created by Leonard. So Leonard, speak it away. Speak your truth.
Speak the truth. All right. Today I'll be talking about a particular video game company that has been well. They have always been had a bad reputation for a while now, but
Mm,
it has recently been ramping up once again, and not particularly sure why that's happening. And the
yeah.
company that I'm mentioning is EA, or Electronic Arts.
Mm.
For those who don't know, Electronic Arts is a video game publisher. Uh, they are basically responsible for a lot of the sports games, like the FIFA, like the UFC, NHL, NBA, Madden, so on and so forth. So like those are like from the EA Sports titles. So they're
Yep.
responsible for that, and
Yep.
they're
I.
also huh?
No, go on. Go on.
But they're also responsible for, or not responsible, but they actually own like the rights to making the Star Wars games, the Battlefield games, the Sims. If anyone still remember those.
But I was
But
about to jump in and say
yeah,
I only know EA probably just because of FIFA and The Sims, and
yeah, FIFA
oh
and the Sims. That's like
yeah,
mostly their biggest or most popular contribution to the quote unquote casual market of video games. But yeah, so they're responsible. So they basically own a monopoly on the sports games, and they also are infamous for buying up a lot of like smaller companies,
Yep.
like smaller developer companies like BioWare, Dice, and Respawn. Those are like the main ones. And if you don't know that, don't worry, I'll get into it later. So
Mm-hmm.
the reason why I really want to talk about them because I actually want to I want to know like the outlook from someone who's not really that into video games or don't really know anything about video games,
Yeah.
such as
Case by point me.
yeah, case in point, you.
Because I would say I'm a gamer, but like a casual one. Like I
Yeah,
don't really tend to. Yeah.
like that's pretty fair to say, right? Yeah, like
Yeah.
you're not really like you don't know basically all the games that are coming out last
No,
year
no,
or this year and so on and so
no.
forth. You're not keeping up with stuff and that, right? Yeah, yeah.
I'm more to like if I like that game, I play it and then I follow it, and then if there's any news about it, I'll talk about it and like hype about it. But I won't hype everything about the gaming community. You know.
Yes, yes, yes. So, EA is basically just a publishing slash developer company that's been around for like almost 40 years, I think. So
Yeah,
they've been
that's pretty
around.
long.
Yeah, they've been a lot. They've been around for a while. They've been around for almost 40 years. So they're almost as old as like the original first video gamers or something like that. They're probably about that old. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and from what I remember, they're currently the second largest gaming company.
Okay. What's the first? Ubisoft, is it or what?
Uh, I think currently it's Activision Blizzard.
I've never heard of that one. Probably.
They're responsible for games like Overwatch. They're do you know Overwatch at all?
Yeah, I've heard of Overwatch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've.
So Activision Blizzard is responsible for Overwatch, Warcraft, if you know that game.
Yeah, I've also known of.
Warcraft. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So like I think Activision Blizzard at the moment is the largest is the largest like gaming company. They have their
Mm-hmm.
own problems too. I might get into them in the future.
Okay.
But today I just want to talk about EA because oh my gosh, I really don't like this company.
Okay. Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, they were so EA was originally founded by I think a former Apple employee called Trip Hawkins. So this is like a short, very background history of the company, and
Mm-hmm.
they're responsible for basically developing the very first few home computer games, like the very first like video games essentially.
Yep.
So they
Yep.
have
Right.
yeah, so they're responsible for like very very old like very like basically black and white era of video games. Like they've
Okay.
been around since then essentially.
Wait, but were they the one who made the consoles or just the games to the
No,
con?
just video games. So they have like
Oh,
consoles, and then they develop those games for those consoles essentially.
yep, yep, yep. Okay.
But recently they've been but recently they don't really develop games anymore. They're now more on the like again publishing aspect. They're like much more leaning on the publishing aspect. And if you don't know the difference between like development and publishing, the difference is that when you develop when you're the developer, you basically design the game. You you're responsible for what the game would look like, how it plays, what makes it fun, and so on and so forth. That's the development side of the game. That's the developer side of the game. And the publishing side is like basically the monetary aspect of the video game. So things like how is it going to be marketed, which like maybe even which console it's going to be,
Mm.
like where is it going to be advertised.
Yeah, so it's more of the marketing aspect of the
Yeah, and
game.
also to some degree the monetization as well. Like how much does this game would like cost to be sold and so on and so forth.
Okay, so
Because
okay, they're kind of the producer then in a way.
to some degree, but like in video gaming, producer has its own term, but like just
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. But like essentially they're responsible for like the publishing sites is basically responsible for everything else that involves money, right?
Okay, I
So
understood.
yeah, so basically if like the budget for the games, how much it's gonna be sold,
Mm.
like advertising and so on and so forth. That's all the publishing side. So EA has
Yeah.
been has been pretty much been responsible on the publishing side of the video games as of late. They haven't been. I don't think they've directly, at least. I don't think they've directly developed anything in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's EA. That's a very basic history, a very like general background of the company. Now, the reason why I want to talk about them specifically is because they've been like I guess recognized officially, I think, by a certain magazine or something. I think in 2012 and 2013. Actually, no, for 3 years. I remember this. I think in 2012, 2013, and even 2014, I think they were considered to
Yeah.
be the most hated or the worst company in America.
I think I've heard of it. Even I have heard of it before. Like people
Yeah,
shitting on
yeah,
it.
yeah. Like a lot of people were shitting on EA during this period of time because of how bad, uh, like they were regarding like their anti-consumer practices, essentially regarding in certain games and also certain IPs, right?
Oh wait, what do you mean by anti-consumer? Is it like the things?
But anti-consumer is basically anything that a company, video game company, does that prevents like the consumers from having any like certain benefits. So, for
Oh,
example, video game refunds.
okay. They don't do that, for example.
I think they don't do that for a while now. So things like refunds, things like exclusivity. So preventing their games being sold in anywhere else except for their own website or something like that, right?
Okay.
So
Uh-huh.
exclusivity is also pretty anti-consumer because like if you're having and like when I mentioned regarding the fact that they have monopoly on the sports market,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they basically own the sports market. No one else can make sport games. If that makes any
Wait,
sense.
wait. So basically, any sports game that's out there right now is all owned by EA, or I
Yeah,
mean,
pretty much owned by EA or
really?
developed by EA's company.
Oh, okay. I
So
didn't know.
like like I think other than I don't know if like badminton or tennis or anything like that is ever made by anyone else, but the big ones like as in the big like sport companies, so like FIFA, NFL, NBA, NHL, UFC, right?
Yeah.
All those like very big, like well known. I think even like world like WWE as well, Worldwide Wrestling Federation,
Yeah.
the World
Yeah.
Wrestling Federation. I think they're also being developed by EA as well. So like EA owns
The
the
rights to.
rights to develop sport games, and they're the only one that can do that. And also that's like pretty, and that's a little iffy for me, but a lot of people have considered that to be also a little bit anti-consumers,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
right? So that's them. So like that's their general reputation. So they're very well known for taking up smaller studios. Like they're buying up smaller studios and basically stripping like those companies down.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're also known for like consumer practices like the one I mentioned, and also other things like microtransactions and stuff like that, which I'll get into a little bit more.
But why are they allowed yet? Because if I'm not wrong, I'm pretty sure US or whatever country they're in or
Mhm,
based out in has
mhm.
like a competition law, right? Like as like an anti-competition law, you know?
Oh
And
yeah, I think it's called the
like
Blue something. I can't remember. Like
yeah,
it happened to Microsoft the other like before, right?
yeah, it's supposed to, it's called like if I'm not wrong in places outside of Indonesia, it's called antitrust law.
And oh, I think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's basically,
But I don't think like I think that doesn't apply to company like video game like tech companies.
really?
At least I don't think so. Cause like Ubisoft, like games like Ubisoft, EA, Activision Blizzard, I don't think that's ever happened to them yet.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. Yeah, because from my understanding, it's like if you're monopolizing a certain market, it's like kind of a red flag for the government to notice and try to like control it, you know, because
I
they
mean,
don't
they
want
can't really control everything. They can only control some companies. Like for example, Diamond is also technically a monopoly, right? Because
what diamond?
like diamonds,
Diamonds?
diamond like there's only one company that's selling diamonds technically.
Really?
Yeah,
In US, right?
in everywhere in the world, not just in the U.S.
What? No, diamonds, like as in the stone diamonds.
Yeah, the diamonds, like diamond rings and stuff. So from what I remember, like there's only one company that's actually selling diamonds.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah,
I'll check it out. But like from what I know, it's like certain stuff where you can monopolize. It's usually it's most probably always connected to the government. Like for example, electricity, water, trains. You know,
yeah, but I guess that's like there's always some kind of exception.
maybe. But yeah, okay, go on. Anyways.
Because yeah, so EA is basically very known for that. Now I'm gonna go
Mm.
into depths based on a Wikipedia page and
Mhm.
also some other things like because believe it or not, they have their own Wikipedia page dedicated to all the shitty things they've done in the past, like since the 2000s and
Oh,
stuff like that.
seriously?
Yeah, they have a dedicated Wikipedia page. If you really want to open this along like and go along this with us, you could just Google in like criticism of EA or criticism of
Oh, wow.
Electronic
Okay, let me
Arts, and
check
you'll
that
find
out.
this. You'll find like a Wikipedia page on this.
Okay.
Let me know when you open it, or if you don't want
Yeah,
to open it. It's fine.
I'm looking at it right now. Wait. I'm trying to see criticism EA. Whoa, okay.
Like
It's not even like a wiki fandom. It's literally a
a
Wikipedia page.
Wikipedia page, yeah.
I thought
So
it
it's
was
very
really a
legit.
wiki fandom. But, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's an entire Wikipedia page, like an actual properly curated Wikipedia page. But
Yep.
yeah, it's really funny, but yeah. So I'm just gonna like most of the things I'm gonna mention is gonna be based off this particular page.
Yep.
Is that fine? Okay, yeah. So first of all, I'm gonna go through their studio acquisitions and closures. So this is the thing I mentioned when I was talking about the fact that like they would usually buy up, they would usually acquire smaller developers, and then
Yep.
basically stripping them down and like basically either ruining the product that they're known for
Uh-huh.
or completely taking down the company to the point where all the staffs are basically like swallowed up by EA themselves.
So it's like a forced takeover then.
It's not necessarily a forced takeover because the development studios themselves let themselves getting like bought, right? So
Right.
it's not it's not really like like forced acquisition per se, but like people like to be fair to the developer company to development company, they didn't know better during that time because EA during that period of time, especially in the early years, they're pretty like they had like almost like a family friendly reputation,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like kind
yeah.
of like Nintendo almost,
Yep.
right? So like a lot of development companies back then didn't really like they didn't really think about much of their company being like, oh, we're gonna get like eaten up by this company or whatnot, you know.
But I mean, you would expect to be eaten up, right? If you accept an acquisition. I mean, that's the whole concept of acquisition, right? It's like a
Yeah, but
small.
technically like when it comes to those kind of acquisitions, you still have like the development company themselves have their own like identity, so to speak, if that makes any sense. Because like especially the bigger companies that I'm gonna mention later on, so things like BioWare or
Mm-hmm.
like Dice and Respawn.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, I think those are like their biggest. Those three in particular are their biggest subsidiary companies. They're like developments, the
Yeah.
development group, right? Developers.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, I think there's been like news of, for example, BioWare,
Yeah.
like basically almost like completely getting like shut down essentially. There's been news of the sort.
Okay. Mm, mm, okay. So, okay, but the thing is why I'm a bit like iffy or like a bit confused about the
Why
topic.
is this a criticism? Is it?
No, not about the criticism, but it's just more of like the concept. Because so the
Mhm.
thing is like I do work in like the field of like acquisition and merger, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
in a
yeah.
way, I've been exposed to like companies acquiring each other or like taking over or merging, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, if we talk about acquisition, it's always something to do with the smaller company being eaten up by the bigger one, right? Meaning
Yeah,
to
yeah.
say that the smaller company will end up losing their identity. So like A takes over B,
Ah,
and B is
Okay.
completely gone. That's the whole concept of acquisition. Like
Yeah,
B is gone.
yeah.
It will
I guess
become
in
A.
that sense, yeah, in that sense, I kind of understand why you're confused because like
Yeah, that's why I was like,
traditionally speaking, that is the way it is, right? So like
yeah.
if
Because
I
from my
acquire another
understanding,
company, it's basically gone, right?
yeah, because that's my understanding is like an acquisition is basically you're taking all their assets to become yours. So their identity also gets written off from the get go, like if you think about it that way,
Yeah,
strictly
yeah.
speaking. But are you considering are you mistaken from an acquisition to a merger? Because merger is when you merge two companies together, meaning to say that these two companies will retain the same identities, if I'm not wrong. As in like
Uh,
as in like it won't completely be a takeover, meaning to say that it's basically me and you merging.
I
So
don't think
the
this is a merging though. This is not technically not a merging because like the companies that I'll mention are definitely under EA. If that makes any sense. So they
okay,
are
so it
definitely
is.
acquired, but they have their own like development like identity. If that makes any sense. Like they have their own developer identity.
Oh, okay. I think I get what you mean. So the idea is not that it's acquiring as becoming one. I mean, in terms of like the contract, it's supposed to be like a subsidiary, is what you're
Yeah,
saying, is it?
subsidiary. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, subsidiary.
Okay, okay. Now I know. So basically, if you were to look at it in like a chart or like an organization chart, basically there's EA, and then below it is supposed to have like these sub companies, like what you
Subsidiary.
said,
Yep.
BioWare and stuff like that.
That's right.
Oh, okay, okay. Because in my head, I assumed that like BioWare, for example, was like eaten up by EA to the fact that like BioWare no longer existed. So
No.
literally, everything was. But what you're saying is, it's basically that BioWare is supposed to be like it's subsidiary to EA, but it's as if EA was swallowing it up as its own, is what you're saying, is it?
Yeah. Technically. Yep.
Okay, okay. Now that makes more sense. Sorry, I was just like confused because I was like, how can you retain your own identity if you've already been acquired?
Yeah.
Yeah,
To be fair,
yeah. I think
that does that is very confusing now that you
no,
mentioned
but
it.
I think
Yeah.
that makes sense. If you say something to do with like the subsidiary concept where
Yeah.
they become the child of the company and he becomes the parent company, now that okay, that's understandable.
Yep.
That's a pretty shit move. I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's a pretty shit move, but it's fair. Like to be honest, the company themselves let themselves get like become the
Yeah.
subsidiary, right? So
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
not
Yep.
like it's not that big of a dick move during that period of time. But
Yep.
since the 2000s, I think actually since the 2000s, like EA
Yeah.
basically expanded rapidly as a company. They
Yeah.
basically acquired like almost I don't know how many companies exactly. Let me see. Uh, 39 companies.
Mm-hmm.
They rapidly like just expanded completely and like acquired a bunch of different like smaller companies even since 1987. Now a lot of them have gone defunct.
Yep.
So, at least the more infamous ones, like the ones that like doesn't really uh like the ones that people don't really know.
Yep. Yep.
uh yeah, so they're pretty famous for basically buying this up and then stripping them down completely. So the more popular companies that I would mention here would be like Mythic Entertainment, like PopCap. You know, PopCap is also owned by them.
I have heard of I think I have heard of PopCap.
Yeah,
I'm
PopCap
pretty
is
sure I've heard.
basically the people who made game like Feeding Frenzy. I don't know if, or Bejeweled.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, so they're responsible. Like they're under EA as well. The
Yeah.
bigger ones are like Respawn, which was like it's like the one of the bigger uh like what do you call it first person shooter games. So they make things like Titanfall and Titanfall 2, which you don't really need to know this. I'm just mentioning out for the audience just in
Yep.
case they want to check this out
Yep.
exactly. Like I said,
Yep. Yep.
this particular section, the studio acquisition and closures, they're not particularly that like scummy, I guess, because like I said, it's like very business thing, right? So it's like
Yeah.
yeah, like unless they like they hired thugs or something to like uh to what do you call it, to threaten these companies get into the be acquired and so on and so forth. Like I can't
Yeah.
really completely criticize them. The
Mm-hmm.
only noteworthy criticism is probably their like the closures that they did, right?
Closures, as in
Yeah,
like their sub gets shut down, is it?
yeah, they shut down their subs. So the most popular, the most famous one is Visceral Games. Visceral Game was responsible for developing a game called sorry, not Mass Effect. We got Dead Space. Sorry, I'm not sure if you know that game, Dead Space.
Dead Space, probably not. I don't think I've
Yeah,
heard
so
of it.
Dead Space is like a very popular horror title that's developed by Visceral Games. Now, 2008, like based on this, um,
Mm-hmm.
like in 2017, sorry, in 2017, Visceral
Yep.
Games, the one that I mentioned, who made the Dead Space games, was basically shut down, and this is the moment that they were gaining a reputation as a company that just has the bad habit of like closing down well-known studios. Because I think
Oh,
they're
okay.
yeah, so
So,
they're
wait,
pretty.
the developer of Dead Space, were they actually like a big company, or they were also like kind of like a startup company?
I think they were pretty startup because they didn't because like they made the first game which was Dead Space and then they got acquired by and then they were acquired by EA I think afterwards and then they made Dead Space 2 and Dead Space 3 and in both cases both the games were not that great because a lot of like publishing meddling. If that makes any sense.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
especially for Dead Space 3 because this is like I don't know when was the first time like EA did this, but this was the most prominent game where EA like you can feel that EA was like starting to claw their fingers into a lot of the more popular um, games,
Yep. Yep.
right?
Yep.
So like for example, the one I mentioned regarding Visceral Games where they had Dead Space. So they developed three games: Dead Space One, Dead Space Two, and Dead Space Three. Dead Space One and Dead Space Two were considered like pretty good for a horror game, especially Dead Space One, considering it was the first of the series, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then in Dead Space Three, they basically like I think EA basically they just told Visual Games to like fuck off with all your horror shit, making it an action, and then
Oh.
we're gonna put in a lot of like in-game monetization like systems like we get microtransactions essentially
Mm-hmm.
because like in that space 3 you could there's a system where you have to craft weapons, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you craft weapons by acquiring ingredients or acquiring crafting materials. Now the thing
Yeah.
is that you could just gather them in game, but you
Yeah.
can also buy them with real money, like I think $5 for like a pack of like crafting materials or something like that. And
But
also
it's optional, right? It's not like
huh?
a must, right? It's not. It's
It's not a
optional,
must.
right?
It's not a must, but like it's very confusing considering the reputation of this game is supposed to be this horror game, right? And then like so the scarcity of materials makes it pretty scary. It's like one aspect of the horror game, right? Just like trying to gather
Mm-hmm.
up as much of ingredients as much as you can, and then suddenly there's this menu on the game that says, "Oh, you don't have enough ingredients. Here, you can buy them up for $5. Just pay us."
Yeah, 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 yeah. They make it
So
more clunky lah
yeah,
because
it
you
made
have.
it more clunky and also just basically ruined the experience of the game. So a
Yep,
lot of
yep.
people, like especially myself, this was in a moment when I felt like, yeah, this is too much like publishing meddling happening here. You know, they
Yeah.
basically ruined and they basically closed down the company because they expected that third game, right?
Mm-hmm.
They expected that third game to sell as much as the first and second game combined.
To sell what?
To
Sorry.
sell the third game. So EA, right?
Yeah.
When they released Dead Space 3, they expected that Dead Space 3 would get sold more than the first Dead Space and the second Dead Space combined.
Mm.
That was what they were expecting. But the thing is that the game was so distant from what it was originally was that a lot of gamers just didn't want to buy it. So
I
it
see.
ruined the company actually. Like it ruined Visceral Games. That's why they was closed down in 2017.
Because it didn't do as well
As well as
as
EA had hoped. Yes.
well, I mean, I guess if it was, but was it because like a lot of people were arguing for the fact that now there's like paid up options, or like the game has been affected by the in-game purchases? Is it
It's
because
not
is that one of
it's
the
not
reasons?
just it's not just the in-game purchases. It's a lot of like studio meddling essentially. Like EA basically told Visceral Games to make it less horror and more action, which was not what the gamers or longtime fans of the series have wanted.
Yeah. Yep, I
Right?
see.
So
Yeah.
so like EA basically sentenced Visceral Games to death by that in that sense.
Okay, but in a sense they're not wrong though, right? Because EA owns Visceral Games,
Yeah,
right?
like they own Visceral, so they get to choose whatever the fuck, and they
How
get
they
to do
want to
whatever
do
the
it
fuck they
with the
want. Yeah.
development. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Because I was wondering as well, like, how can EA be? Because you told me that EA is the publisher, right? And then
Yes.
the ones that I mean, like, the ones that actually make the games are actually developers. So I was like, when you said that EA didn't want to make it horror, they wanted to make it more action, or they wanted to, they had, like, as in, like, EA has a lot of opinions about the game. How do they have the right to do so? That's because they acquired, like you said, they acquired the shares, like, for example, of the company, and the company becomes a subsidiary. So even though EA is technically the publisher, they still in a way have the right to change the creative flow of the development, is it?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Because if you think about it, publishers is basically responsible for everything regarding the money, right?
Yep, yep,
And
yep.
especially in an imbalanced situation where the publishers are like where the publisher is bigger than the development company,
Yep. And they
like
own the
those sort of,
development
yeah,
company.
they own the developer company, so those kind of
Yep.
situation can happen,
Yep. But
right?
but let's say that they didn't own the development company. They shouldn't have the voice of it, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
technically, yep.
theoretically speaking, yeah.
No,
Unless
I mean
anything.
they can say things like, "Oh, this is not realistic." Like, you can't make the game like sorry, we don't have time to develop the game for this long because
Yeah.
blah blah this
Yeah.
and that. They can do things like that. It
Mm-hmm.
like the publish some publishers, or in fact most publishers, can do things like that because technically it makes sense for them to do so. Like it's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
do you call it, like because
They
they're the one
want
responsible for the money, right? To return
yeah.
the developers, this is our budget. You can't make the game with this scope or blah blah blah,
Yeah.
something like that. They can do things like that, but what EA did was basically like almost overreaching essentially.
It was like hands on, yeah, from the sound of
Yeah,
it. It's like
from the sound of it. Yep, yep, yep.
they were the one who developed it, like in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay. I can see why that would suck, and that space being not as good, and then people didn't buy it as much, and then the company kind of like crashed, is it?
Yeah, it was closed down by EA essentially.
Mm-hmm. Also, EA closed it down.
Yeah, EA closed it down because they thought like
Oh.
the company worth like wasn't worth investing into technically.
Oh, damn, that must suck.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's like the only major like criticism, at least about their studio acquisitions and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
The second part is a lot shorter if you look at it, but it's definitely the bigger part of it because
Okay.
and this is their treatment of employees, specifically
Oh,
developers, right?
yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So in the like in video games industry in general, even like the most angelic video game companies in the market,
Yeah.
uh, they're usually pretty known for basically rushing their developers to try to finish the game as soon as possible.
Yep. I think that
And
would.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and this is very common in the industry. It's like even big, like whether you're big, whether you're small,
Yeah.
like if you're a video game developer, you'll eventually experience this one way or another, and it's called crunch, right? It's called crunching or crunch time. And this is and what this is basically forcing employees to work extra hours in the final few weeks or months sometimes often being unpaid.
Oh shit, that
Yeah,
sucks.
yeah, and like usually like you're not paid for this final few hours, and this is like very common. This is like almost every company like has this thing, and like nowadays there's a lot of what do you call it, like almost a disdain on like for companies doing this sort of thing, because it's only widely known now, like more recently,
I mean,
right?
like, yeah, that would suck because like you're trying to meet the deadlines, right? And a lot of
Yeah,
things probably have happened. And then if you don't pay your employees, um, like at least the overtime for it, then like they could just stop not like they could just stop doing it, right? And be like, whatever, we don't want to do this, fuck it. Oh, but then maybe it would affect their contract and get sued also. See,
yeah,
so the employees can't really do much as well.
yeah. So there's that aspect as well,
Yeah,
and what do you call it, and the thing is that like a lot of, but to be fair to EA, this happens
yeah.
everywhere. This happens everywhere in the video game industry, so
I
they
would,
can't
I
really
would,
get judged for it.
I
Here's
would
where
think
the criticism starts,
Nintendo
however.
does
Hello?
it.
Sorry? Oh, wait.
Hello?
Hello, hello?
Oh,
Oh,
I was saying, I think even Nintendo may do it. You
yeah,
know.
yeah. Nintendo probably has done it a few times as well. I don't, but I think that, like from what I've heard, I'm not sure if this is true or not.
Hmm?
Japanese like video game companies have started to like, especially the bigger ones, they have
Yeah.
started to prevent that sort of things. Like I think they've like added in systems to
Yeah.
prevent crunch time to make sure that like
Yeah.
everything is
Yeah.
finished on time,
Yeah.
like better planning and stuff like that. So from what I've heard, they've, like I said, recently they've tried to like basically pushed away from crunch because crunch
Yeah.
is not great, right?
Yep. I agree.
Even CD Project Red, which is a like current like like if you ask maybe on Reddit or the internet, is known to be like almost a like a perfect, quote unquote perfect video game developer company.
Yeah.
Even they can't escape crunch. Like their most recent game, which is the Witcher 3, was known to have crunch time added for I think the DLC and also the actual base game.
Yeah.
And the most their upcoming game, which was Cyberpunk 2077.
Yep.
Even though they said that they're trying not to do crunch, people can tell that something's happening in the background because there was a lot of delays.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I mean,
Yeah,
who knows what happens when you're developing a game, right? Maybe last minute shit happens, and then you're like, "What the heck?" Or even worse, like the creative this flow has been changed last minute because of
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, stuff like that.
whatever. I mean,
So
it's understandable. Yeah.
yeah, it's very understandable, right? But here comes the actual criticism
For
of
EA.
EA.
Yeah.
Because like I said, a lot of the things that I'm gonna mention, some other companies have done as well, like Ubisoft, like Ubisoft, especially recently with their like a lot of like sexual allegations and bully culture, or
Mm.
Activision Blizzard with like how they like crunch, like just massive crunch, and also like I think like sexual harassment as well in Activision Blizzard, Riot. Like I said, treatment of employees badly. Big video game companies are doing this, and also like other companies as well.
Uh-huh.
Um, but there's a huge like allegations with EA specifically, where like they would basically make almost like the entire production cycle into crunch. If that makes any sense.
Who? Oh, for
EA,
EA?
yes, EA would sometimes make whole development cycles into crunch time. So basically, they had to work overtime all the time.
Why would they do that? As in, like,
EA,
isn't it stressful for them too? Cause like, EA has to like fight the deadlines and shit. Like, I mean, like, isn't it stressful for the higher ups as well? You know?
I have no idea. They've done this for a long time now. Like 2004. Uh, like according to the wiki, they were basically criticized for employees working extraordinary long hours, up to 100 hours per week.
Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like the
and I even read like I mean 2004 they
yeah,
even did work on the weekends. I mean, I do that too, but at
yeah,
least in a sense like my at least my higher ups are aware, you know, that like that's crazy hours and they try to kind of like deal with it internally. But if this becomes like an unusual thing, that's kind of sad, and they don't get paid for it. That's the sad thing.
Yeah, sometimes they don't get paid for this now as well.
Mm.
And so, like, that particular post in 2004 became viral. And I think that was, yeah, I think, and brought awareness of this crunch culture. Because, like I said, almost every company have crunch. Right?
Yep,
It
yep,
happens
yep.
everywhere. And then two class action lawsuits were filed against EA by the employees. The first was filed originally in 2004 by game artists looking for compensated
Yep,
for unpaid overtime, and
yep,
EA settled for 15.6 million by 2006.
yep.
And then EA reclassified several of the low-level developers into hourly rate schedules to qualify for overtime in the future, but foregoing company stock options. A second suit was brought against EA by the programmers this time around, and was similarly settled in 2006 for $14.9 million. Additionally, Hoffman's, which was the person that
Yep.
mentioned regarding the 100 hours a week, the 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. stuff like that, led to a general trend against the gaming company to address matters of crunch time, though as of 2015 it remains a significant industry issue. So even like almost like 11 years after that post, I think. Oh wait, 11? No, sorry, 9. 9 years after that post was like that lawsuit was done,
Mhm.
crunch and like just mistreatment of video game developers or treatment employees are still bad even to this day.
Yep.
Now, in the next paragraph, since these criticisms first aired, it has been reported that EA has taken steps to address work-life balance concerns. That's complete bullshit. We know today that's complete bullshit. Compensation and communication with employees. These efforts accelerated with the arrival of John Vicentiello as CEO in February 2007. In December 2007, an internal EA employee survey showed 13% increase in employee morale and 21% increase in perception of management recognition
Yeah,
over the year
meaning it
period.
improved, right?
So that sounds good. In May
Yeah.
2008, Hoffman said EA had made significant progress but may now be falling into old patterns again.
Mm.
She
Mhm.
said, I think EA is tremendously reformed, having made some strong efforts to get the right people into their human resource department. And I've been hearing from people who have gotten overtime pay there, and I think that makes a great deal of difference. In fact, I've actually recommended to a few people I know to apply for jobs there. But she also said that she has begun to hear horror stories once again.
Yep.
And this was in 2008. And yep,
Yep.
like I was about to mention this, but like Anthem and Superman Returns more specifically, uh,
Huh?
were were moments where they had excessive crunch in their developments, which affected the game quality.
Oh, the
Yeah,
game. Okay.
yeah. So even though in 2008 it felt like things were starting to get better, uh, like in Superman's Returns 2006, which suffered from the culture changes that EA reacted to the Clash of the lawsuits, suffered because it's a video game. And then in 2019, Anthem, which was a very uh, almost like overly hyped game during that period
Mhm.
of the time, also suffered from like this crunching, uh, like right crunching, what do you call it, culture of EA.
Mhm.
So even though it seemed like in 2003 it seemed better, from the looks of it, nothing has changed.
And this is made by BioWare. So BioWare
Yeah,
is still alive.
subsidiary. Yep, yep, yep. Subsidiary of,
Yeah. Okay.
and I think they also developed. I'm not sure which one is Bioware's latest game. Is it this one or the other?
Mm.
Because was it? Let me see. Because I know that during a short period of time, BioWare made two games in Pacific. So one was Anthem, and the other one was one of their Mass Effect, which was complete shit either as well. I think it was oh no, okay, no. So Mass Effect was the older one, and then it was Anthem. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So even a year ago, that it seems that crunch culture in BioWare hasn't actually changed much.
Yep. Yep. Mm.
So again, that's another criticism that they have. Another one is game quality, and this one actually came up a lot recently as well. I'll mention it first. I'll read. I'll read whether like this wiki page whether they mentioned it. I don't think they did because I did skim through it, but their game quality has been known to be very shit. At
I
least
I think I've heard of it. I don't know about the others, but I think if I'm not wrong, it's the FIFA series got really shit, right? Like
a
it was.
lot of their sports series have been shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because like a lot of FIFA, NFL, and stuff like that, because they basically pump those games out every year,
yeah,
and like mm, no changes essentially, nothing is added.
yeah. I mean, okay, to me, because I'm not a sports fan, right? And
Yeah.
I don't really play like sport games as well. I always just think to myself like, how can there be more than one like soccer game, like football game, for example? How can there be more than one game? Like, I don't get what makes each and every one of them different. I heard someone mention before, like it was because it was like different teams, you play for different teams, or there's different like moves that you can use, or different like events or something like that. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the main appeal, from what I understand, every year, like pumping
yeah,
them out every year, is basically
yeah,
getting an updated value of players essentially and teams.
right. Okay,
Because players shifts around, right?
yes,
Like players move to other teams and so on and so forth, and their performance change
yeah.
depending on the team. So that would affect like their stats in game or something like that, right?
Oh, okay, okay. But that basically means that um essentially the gameplay is just the same, right?
The game overall gameplay is the same. There are, like you mentioned, there are like new moves, so like trick
Yeah,
moves
yeah,
and stuff like that. They
yeah,
do add those type of things up there,
yeah,
but not much.
yeah, yeah. I mean, okay, I kind of get it, but yeah, I guess. Uh-huh. And then?
And so I'll mention this as well. So like their game quality, right? So a lot of people have mentioned the fact that like FIFA every year is the same, and the thing is that like I mentioned, they used to have this like almost family friendly and very like very strong video game developer like
Yes.
reputation, but
Yeah.
that has just completely shut down the drain. Like they completely dropped down from like one of the best video game developers to like one of the worst.
Okay. Is it because they were cutting budgets or
Like
what?
shit, like I think it's like I don't know what it is that they did, because I don't think budget is the problem. I think it's the fact that like they did to a lot of video games like they did to Mass Effect, not Mass Effect, but Dead Space 3,
Mm-hmm.
where they basically like meddled so much that they like they basically ruined the game quality,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So like for example, the FIFA games are like famous for this, the NBA, right?
Yeah.
um the NBA series, and then the most recent one, I can't remember which game it was, but it was another one of their sports games.
Mm-hmm.
There's one of their sport games became one of the lowest rated game ever,
Oh, wow.
like of all time. Like nothing, no other game has a lower score than this game. This
Because of
includes
the
like
gameplay?
really like everything, just everything regarding the games. I think it's called Madden. Yeah, Madden.
Oh, what's Madden?
Madden is a can't remember what sport it is. I think it's football. I think it's NFL, right? Madden 2021. Yeah, the football one, NFL, essentially the American football game.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So the Madden NFL got like they had a review of basically being the worst game ever made on Metacritic.
Madden.
Yeah, Madden NFL like 2021 or something like that.
Oh, 2021?
Yeah, or 2020 was it? Which one was it?
As in, it hasn't been released, right?
It's released. No, they always release it like that. So like if it's this year, that means the game is called 2021 usually. Or like if it's
Oh,
yeah, it's always
okay.
been like that. Yep, yep, yep.
That's interesting. Okay. But they said that this year's one is like one of the worst.
Yeah, at least like user
Wow.
reviews have
Yep,
determined
yep.
it to be like user reviews have considered this to be the worst football simulation game of all time, right?
Meaning to
To the
say it's their customers, right?
Yeah, these are like the people who actually bought the games and has considered what do you call it? Like hello?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Hello.
yeah, sorry. Cause like I think I heard your voice and it became quiet all of a sudden.
Oh no, no, no. Okay, yeah. Go on.
Yeah. So yeah. So these are basically just regular people. Like they're not critics or anything like that. They're
Yeah.
basically just normal people who bought the game, played it, and then just put it on Metacritic and reviewed it. And they consider to be like so. These are some of the complaints in Metacritic. So they added no feature to what it is already an endemic franchise, which is like the franchise has like didn't have much features to begin with, and then they took away those
Uh-huh.
features into the newest game.
What features though?
I don't know. It just
Okay.
like this is I didn't play it. I don't want to play it. I don't want to buy it. Uh,
I mean, I wouldn't want to play that either. Not because I don't like it, but it's just I'm not interested in it. You know.
yeah, I'm not interested either. But like people who bought the game said this game had no features to make franchise mode, and its features
Mm-hmm.
many bugs upon release,
Ooh, that's
such
not good.
as rainbow colored coaches,
The hell
players
does that even
wearing
mean?
the wrong jersey,
Oh,
uh,
wrong jersey number is what you're
yeah,
saying.
wrong jersey number and team, just colors in general.
Shit, that's bad.
Yeah, blank fields, as in the fields didn't have any lines or hash marks.
Oh shit, that's so bad.
And then the only feature in this game that worked was the yard, which is an
Wait,
excuse to
the
monetize
only
the game.
sorry, you broke the only what the
The
features?
only the only service, the only proper working service in this game is called something called the yard, which
Mm-hmm.
serves only as an excuse to monetize the game further.
Oh no, what does that mean? So like for you to use the yard, you have to pay, is it?
More like the yard is just a game, like a multiplayer game where you buy certain players with real money.
Oh
In
shit. Okay.
addition, in addition to the actual game costing $60.
Ew,
So
who'd wanna buy that? Okay.
that's like about 800,000, I think, 800,000 rupiah.
Yeah, yeah. I
So the
mean,
game the game cost about almost that much, and there's still in-game monetizations where you have to
yeah.
buy or you have to pay with real money to buy characters.
Are you getting to the worst part? Is that it?
That is the worst part, and like
Oh,
there's just so
I
many.
thought. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so, and there's like many gameplay AI flaws from the previous titles that have continued into this one as well.
Okay. I thought the worst part was like the one where you say it was randomized. Remember?
What do you mean
It's
randomized?
not this one. It's not this one, is it?
Which one was
Like
randomized?
in-game purchases, but then like
Oh yeah, yeah.
it's still
That's it. That's it. That's exactly their system, and it happened all the time in all of their sport games.
Oh, so this is actually a thing, like a
It's a
recurring
thing
thing
in
for
the
them.
EA Sport. Yeah, so like they have like card packs with like
Yeah,
players in them. You open them, you don't know who you're gonna get, and now it's all
yeah.
randomized. And I think and I think I told you this story before. It's not mentioned in the podcast, just you guys, just so the audience know. But
Yeah.
we did talk about the fact that one kid, I can't remember exactly, I think from the UK, spent
Uh-huh.
like $2,000 on those card packs just to get a player that he wanted,
Yeah.
and he didn't
And
know any better because he was a kid. He was just like he just
yeah,
had what do you call it? He just had access to his parents' credit card or something. Just continually bought
buying it
the
till he person he
buy
wanted,
till
is
he
it?
gets what he wants, which was like $2,000 just to get what he wants.
So wait, so this is different than the concept of yard, or is it essentially the same thing?
It's the same.
The
It's the
whole
same. I'm
of the
pretty sure it's
yard.
the same. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, cause I think for anyone who's like still confused what we're talking about since we didn't really explain it, it's basically when you buy the game, like you buy for example what the Madden, right, for
Yeah.
$60, you
Uh-huh.
you also pay for example if you want a certain player but it's not there yet, you pay for that player, but the chances of getting that player is randomized. So you have to apart like in on top in addition to paying for the $60 of the game itself, you have to pay in game, which is around I don't know how much, but that also gives has a
I
random
think
chance.
I
It's
think if
not
I
exact.
remember correctly, it's about $5 to $10. I think about yeah,
Wow, really? And that kid spent $2,000
yeah, just to get like
total.
total,
How
just to
many
get it.
chats did he paid for? What the heck?
I think another one was like another very famous example of this, and this is what got them into trouble was the
Mm.
Star Wars one.
Yeah. What
So
happened to the Star Wars
so
one?
they've released a game called Star Wars Battlefront 2, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
in this game there's a multiplayer mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the multiplayer mode, basically you can buy like loot boxes. Like this is the official term for what they call those things, by the way. They
Yep.
call them loot boxes.
Yep.
So you buy a loot box, you open it, and then you get like certain things that you can add into the game, which makes your
Yeah.
character stronger or gets your unit stronger.
Yeah. That one I understand.
Now, uh, and people got really mad at this because again, just like Madden or FIFA or anything, the game costs about $60 as well.
Yeah.
And in addition to that $60, you need to pay more money. Just like kind of getting the players, you need to pay more money in order to get like better weapons, better like planes or better equipments.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Get yourself better. So it's like pay to win system, right?
Yep.
So people were very mad at that, and the reply that EA, like one of the PR people made in Reddit, because most of the criticism that came up for that game in particular was basically thrown at Reddit.
Yeah.
So I think there was a Reddit post saying like this the what call it? Like Battlefront 2 is the most offensively greedy game ever made, blah blah blah, this and that. And then an EA public relations guy, I don't know who this person is, but basically gave a reply on Reddit to that post,
Mm-hmm.
and it was downvoted or like disliked essentially. It was
Mm-hmm.
downvoted to oblivion. It was even made into like the number one most downvoted comment or post in Reddit or something.
What did he say?
Most downvoted. Let me see if I can find it.
What did he say though?
Most downvoted. Let me see if I can find this. It's in the
Wait. Mm-hmm.
hello? What?
Yep. Yep. Go on first.
Yeah, so it was Reddit users have discovered that the platform's record for the most downvoted comment will appear in 2020 Guinness Book World of Records. The most downvoted
Mm-hmm.
comment belongs to EA, who racked up about negative 667,000 response to a thread about a 2017 game Star Wars Battlefront 2.
But like, what did he say that made it so like despicable for everyone?
So just for context, yeah. So the person was saying like I paid $80 for the game,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
paid $80 for the game, along with like all the additional like packs and stuff like that, right? And
Yeah.
and again, this is a Star Wars game, so they paid $80 and they can't play Darth Vader.
Oh shit! That bites.
They can't play Darth Vader because it's locked behind those loot boxes.
And the thing is with the loot box, is it also randomized or you can choose a specific?
Randomize as well.
Oh my god, no, that is bad.
Yes. And so so the Reddit post title was basically seriously, I paid $80 to have Vader locked. Alright?
Yeah.
And then this
Yeah.
is the response that the EA community team made.
No.
The intent is to provide players with a sense of pride and accomplishment for unlocking different heroes. As for cost, we selected initial values based upon data from the open beta because they had open beta, which was like a
Yeah.
pre-release of the game, right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So it's basically a pre-release of the game for people who don't know what open beta means. And other adjustments made to milestone rewards before launch. Among other things, we're looking at average per player credit earn rates on a daily basis, and we'll be making constant adjustments to ensure that players have challenges that are compelling, rewarding, and of course, attainable via gameplay. But we'll get to that later. We appreciate the candid feedback and the passion the community has put forth around the current topics here on Reddit, our forums, and across numerous social media outlets. Our team will continue to make changes and monitor community feedback and update everyone as often as we can. That was their reply to someone
That got
complaining the fact that they
downvoted.
paid for $80 and they can't
Yep.
play Vader.
Yeah.
And this was downvoted to shit. It has like
Okay, so
Yeah, the one I
I
played
think
for
we've
like 660,000 votes downvotes.
yeah. So here's the thing. I think we've talked about this before. I mean, we lightly touched on it when we were mentioning about this topic a few weeks ago.
Uh huh.
But I was asking to you, like, I was like, why is this such a big deal when, when we were kids, we bought like Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon cards, also in a sense of like gambling or like randomization, because like when you buy a pack, you don't know what you're getting at, right? And then you kind of
Yes.
trade with each other because you want a specific card, for example, right?
Yep. 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 Yep.
And then you said to me like, oh yeah, that actually is a good point. But the difference probably would be that when we bought the card, it was just us buying the card. It had nothing to do with us actually having bought something else first for like an amount, the huge ass amount, and then actually not being able to play it fully because you have to pay in addition to
Extra.
something which was
Yeah,
random,
additional costs essentially.
which then I understand because it's like it kind of is an asshole move for you to be able to like you buy for $60, but you can't actually play Darth Vader until you pay a certain amount for the loot. But even the loot itself is randomized. We need to say that you pay a certain amount for the loot, but you might not even get Vader in the first place.
Yep. Yep. That's
Which
exactly that.
which I understand where they're coming from because that's so. I mean, that's kind of similar to the concept of buying like Pokemon cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but the difference is that a Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards is only for like, if I'm not wrong, back then it was only like $2 or four
Even
dollars.
less than that. I remember buying like Pokemon cards for like 15,000 rupiah or something like.
I think
It's
for
not
me
even.
in Singapore it was like around $2 if I'm not wrong, $2 or
Uh,
$4 at most. But essentially it's like that's it. That's what you get. That's the
yeah, yeah.
cards.
So
It's not just yeah.
basically comparing to like your Pokemon analogy, like imagine having to buy a board for Pokemon that costs $60,
Yeah, yeah,
and then having to pay for the cards themselves.
yeah. I think that would kind of suck. Yeah,
I
I
think yeah.
understand.
I think wait, actually, there's a game I think that cost about that one. I think it's called Magic the Gathering, but I'm not gonna go into that. Like,
Oh yeah, I know about that one.
I think
Yeah,
Magic the
well,
Gathering had that kind of system, but I'm not gonna go deep
we'll
into
talk
that.
about that next time. Yeah,
Next
that's
time,
kind of
maybe.
different. But I feel like that's kind of different though, because in a way that's a D. I mean, just to briefly talk about it, it's just about D&D, right? And basically D&D is like it's an open game, as if anything can happen. I feel that if it's randomized, I kind of understand. But like for FIFA, for example, it's literally just you playing football, right?
Hmm.
Like I mean, what's the point of randomizing it if it's not just for you to cash in all of like little kids' hopes and dreams and
Yeah,
disappointment?
exactly. Of like wanting to play this character of theirs, right? Or
Yeah,
players that they
yeah,
really want to play.
yeah. So I get why they're thinking that it's like it's stupid and it's kind of evil for EA to have done that. I mean, I kind of understand, say, in that sense. Yep.
Yep. So that's something that's yeah. So that particular aspect is the one I mentioned, and then game quality, the one I mentioned was basically EA just constantly trying to like dig their claws at whatever games they can
Yep.
get their hands on. And
Yep.
funnily enough, whenever they let their developers do their own thing,
It's good actually.
it's good. Their games actually end up pretty fucking good. Like for example, Jedi: The Fallen Order and Apex Legends, I think are pretty big.
Oh,
Go-
I've heard of Apex Legends. It's the one where you play as like the animals, right?
I don't know in animals.
Oh no, wait, never mind. Never mind. Moving on.
Apex
Yeah, no,
Legends
no,
is basically a free to play shooter.
okay, no, never mind then.
It's like a battle
Yeah, yeah.
royale thing, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
And from what I've heard, when they developed this game, they were pretty hands off. It was almost like a side project thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it came out of nowhere, just completely released without marketing or whatever, and it became like one of the most popular like battle royale games during that time. Jedi Fallen Order as well. They made it into like a single player game only, which was very rare for EA because they want multiplayer and everything,
Yeah.
so they can cash in on the loot box system.
Mm-hmm.
But with Jedi Fallen Order, they didn't do that. There wasn't any loot boxes. There weren't any multiplayer, and it became one of
Mm-hmm.
the most popular Star Wars game to date.
Wow. And the thing is, EA doesn't realize this, or what? Do
I
they
don't.
do they
I
realize?
think they know. I think they know, but they just don't want to because they know that the loot box system makes more money.
Oh man, that sucks.
I'm pretty sure that's the only reason. Because I'm pretty sure they know because people have told them so many times.
I mean, impressionable kids would want to keep buying for the character they will get, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god. But the thing is, it sucks because then the parents are the one that has to pay for this shit.
Has to pay for that shit, and that's why recently, as of late, there's been a lot of pushback against loot boxes. Not just from EA, but like basically a lot of games.
Mhm.
I think some countries like Belgium, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was exactly, but I think Belgium, for example, has basically considered loot boxes the thing where you open a pack and like you get randomized things.
Yeah.
They basically classified that as gambling.
Okay.
Yeah, so if it's online or in digital form, and it has like those things where you open a card pack and it gives you random things, it's basically gambling. So basically, whenever you release a game that has that system, it has to be rated a certain age,
Yeah. I think
right?
uh like that one for me it's kind of like a gray situation when the context of whether it's gambling or not, yeah. I get why it's considered gambling, but at the same time, like I don't know. I don't necessarily think it's gambling too, I guess. I don't know. But yeah,
I get
go
what you're
on.
saying. I definitely get what you're saying. Like, what you're a little iffy calling it like straight up gambling, right?
Yeah.
But here's the problem that a lot of a lot of like people, like especially those who don't play video games a lot, um, think about, which is the fact that like the thing is that when it comes to those type of like loot box systems, not a lot of
Hmm.
people like it, especially the older players.
Yeah. I get it. Uh-huh.
Like if they don't want to spend money on that thing, they will not spend money on that thing. But the younger players, especially, right? Like think about like somewhere between maybe 13 or 16 years of age or something like that,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Especially when their brain is still developing, right? It gives a sense of addiction. And I
Yeah.
think some of the people who basically paid, like for example the $2,000 and $3,000 one, the older ones, it's
Yeah.
not just like a tricking kids into paying $2,000, but there's like people who are actually like diagnosed with like gambling addiction because of these video games. Because
Oh,
of
the ones the adults who actually pay very expensively for that, they are the ones who are like kind of they have the gambling tendency, is it?
yeah, essentially, yeah. They didn't just have gambling tendency; they developed it playing that game.
I see. I can see where I can see why it is that way. See, it's just I think to me it's just a bit foreign to me. It's because, like I said, I've seen my friends play like Pokemon cards, or like even for girls, like back then we also had like our own little card games, or like Pretty Cure or whatever. But it's never to the point of like gambling until like 2000, for example. But I can see why it's impressionable to kids, as in like I guess it's different, like yeah, how you
It's
see
it's
games now
different.
and how you see game last
And
time.
also,
Yeah,
I think it's like back then, a lot of companies were like because there was actually there were actual costs into making those cards, right?
yeah, yeah.
Meanwhile, this time around it's digital, so like you could basically make them for free. Technically,
Ah, I see.
technically,
Mhm.
like very like small amount of budget.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I get what you mean. See. Yeah, yeah. I think I do understand why it's called. Why it's kind of borderline gambling.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
So there's that, and then anything else I want to talk about? All right, regarding the loot boxes, because again, this is the
Mm-hmm.
probably the biggest reason why EA has always been criticized, which is the loot boxes. In fact, they're almost the most they're almost the most prominent like company that people associate when talking about loot boxes.
Oh yeah.
Like it's EA because they was hit by a lawsuit from this, if I'm mentioning a class action lawsuit by like a few hundred people,
Mm.
and they were even brought to court
Yeah.
for this. They were brought to court, and like they had to explain um what do you call it? They had to explain loot boxes to the court and stuff like that. And
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they immediately like rebranded it. So instead of calling it loot boxes, they call it what do you call it? Surprise mechanics or surprise. What do you call it? Uh, what do you call it? Surprise. I
Randomization.
forgot what is it called, but they call it something very kid like, very kid
Yeah,
friendly. And people were like, nah. I was like, that's complete fucking bullshit.
that's gambling. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gambling. And so a lot of like a lot of countries um a lot of countries have been trying to basically classify loot boxes into what do you call it, into gambling, so that basically whenever games are released they have to put them a certain age group.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, consider it like this. We buy, for example, Story of Seasons, like Harvest Moon, right?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then one of the bachelor that we want is locked. You cannot get her. Like Mary, for example, I want to get Mary, but then they say, oh, you have to actually buy this ticket to allow Mary being unlocked. But then buying that ticket in itself is randomized, so you might not get Mary. I might get Popori, or I might get whatever. And I
Yeah.
think that may be considered as gambling, because that would mean that if I am so obsessed with Mary, I would actually try to buy it again and again to get Mary, right?
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, can you imagine actually ever happening? I would
Right? Which kind of sucks, because it's like Mary's the NPC of the game. It's a bachelorette. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
it's part of the game.
core point of the
Yeah.
game, right?
Unless it's like you have Mary, and for example, like clothes. You want Mary to wear different clothes, and then the type of clothes that you want her to wear, something like that, is actually locked, and you have to kind of buy. I think that one makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like it's more accessory based than a functional based. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I guess even with the Darth Vader thing, like maybe people will argue that it's an accessory thing because it's Darth Vader, as in like you don't really have to necessarily play as Darth Vader for the game, right? For example.
Mm-hmm.
But knowing that Darth Vader is actually a huge deal, or a huge essence or core of the franchise itself, you know, like for them to lock it and have you kind of like play this gambling game to get it, it's kind of like a shit move. I mean, as compared to, like, for example, if you want to get Flynn, is it called Flynn, that
Yeah,
guy?
Flynn. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who cares about Flynn, I mean, like I said, like, if someone wants to get Flynn, they can get Flynn, but even if without it, the franchise still lives on.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I get why it's called gambling, say now, from the looks of it. It's kind of different than like when we were kids and we wanted to buy like Yu-Gi-Oh cards and like trade them.
Exactly.
So how do you think that EA is handling all these issues that they are having right now? Because like you told me about three main issues, right?
Yeah,
One
like
is
the
that they're
so
shitting to the
most of the time they basically just do their corporate shell, which is the one I mentioned. Like they basically reply the same way that the Reddit post that the
Ooh, yeah,
Reddit comment
very
that I mentioned
corporate.
was way.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So they always talked about how like they're the victim, or like this is some what do you call it?
mm,
This is a minor setback, or this is like ruining the game experience. Because I remember when they were brought to court regarding the loot box thing,
yeah,
right? So the loot box thing, so they argued basically it's not loot boxes, it's surprise mechanics.
yeah,
That's what they call it, right? Uh, like,
yeah,
and which is like really stupid, because like what's the fucking difference? Because it's the same thing. And
yeah.
besides, you're not getting surprised. You're trying to find the thing that you
Right.
want. So it's no longer a surprise. You know what you're getting. You just want to try to
Yeah.
get it.
I think it's a bit different, kan. Like it's a bit
Yeah,
different because it's like you already know what you want
yeah,
in a
yeah,
way.
yeah. And so they argued saying like it's a surprise mechanic, and then a lot of people were basically saying like no, that's a bunch of bullshit. And then they replied saying like taking away loot boxes will take away the core experience of the game.
That's kind of that's kind of that's a reach right there.
Yeah,
Kind of
so oh yeah, here it is. So both Belgium and the Netherlands have basically ruled that loot boxes may be considered as unregulated gambling.
gambling.
Yeah.
I mean, they might not be wrong. It might be true, in a sense.
Yeah. Oh, here it
But
is. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Here it is. Here's the comment that I mentioned regarding them trying to compare them to a kids thing. So, in the UK, EA defended its use of loot boxes, comparing them to surprise mechanics. That
like
what would
like
find with
Bruno, right?
collectible toys like Kinder Surprise eggs.
Yeah, like yeah, Kinder Bueno.
Kinder My God.
But I mean, like I said, it's kind of, I don't know. I think to me, to a degree, it's true. Like it is similar to Kinder, but what makes it different is that the kids have already paid an amount of money before, like to get that game in the first place, and that's what makes it kind of like a shit move.
Yeah. It's
Because this is
and
what
like
I
Kinder Surprise, don't they have like chocolate as well in them? No, or is it just
yes,
toys?
yeah,
Right?
yeah. It's chocolate, and then when you break it, then there's the toy.
The toy, right? Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
Kinder Surprise. You kind of paying for the chocolate, and then the toy is just an extra.
yeah, yeah,
Meanwhile, with like EA, it's almost like the game is the extra. You pay for the cards and all the stupid shit, and then
yeah. I think I
the game
get
is an
what you.
extra.
Yeah, yeah. No, but the reason that's also kind of the reason why I was a bit like when I told you about the whole gambling thing, why I was a bit iffy was because also like, the game called Ark Knights, right?
Yes,
I don't play, but I know like a few people
it's
like
yeah,
close
yeah.
by play.
It's supposed to be like you basically try like you get randomized characters, right?
Yeah, so I think there are chances where like you roll. I think that's what it's called. Like you roll, and then you get to like see out of 10 times out of 10 times you try it, like you'll
Mhm,
get like the 5-star one or the 4-star one or the 3-star one, something like that, right?
mhm.
And then they do give you a list of who you may get, right? So that means
Yes,
essentially you kind of play because you know, or you have a you
you
fight
have
for
at
the chance that
least you at least have some prior knowledge
yeah,
of
but
like
but the
what you're
thing
gonna
is,
get.
the thing is for you to make that roll, also it uses money, but it uses the in-game money. Meaning to say is that you actually already have the money. You don't have to pay you don't have to pay out. What is it called? Like outside of the game, you don't have to make a purchase unless you want to make further purchases. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But is that also considered as gambling in
I
that
mean,
sense?
here's the thing. I generally think it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I generally think it is. Like I still consider like for example game like Art Knights or any of those gacha game actually. They call it
Yeah. Yeah.
gacha,
Check
right?
games, right? Right. Uh huh.
And isn't gacha games also like those what do you call it? Aren't
Gotcha
gacha
balls, right?
like
The
gambling
one.
machines, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a gambling machine,
Oh
but
no
I
no
can
no!
see
It's like
why.
those like toy games, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it's also kind of like gambling because it's like you want to get that one, but you don't know how to make it. Like you don't know how to have it
Yeah, I
drop.
mean,
Right?
here's the thing that makes me a little iffy. So when I see it in a free game,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of understand. So for example, Ark Knight, right?
Yeah.
Ark Knight is a free game; anyone can download it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like for me, it's I kind of can let it pass. I still consider it gambling. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, because I think any gacha game where you have to like basically pay money in order to get like
Yeah.
certain characters and it's still random chance or whatever.
Even if it's
That's
in game, right?
even if
Even if
it's
it's
in game, even if it's in game, as long as you pay with real money,
yeah.
it's gambling.
Oh no, but there are moments where it's like you don't pay real money,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah.
but
If that's the case, then no, then I wouldn't consider it so. But here's the thing
really
with those type of yeah. But here's the thing with what my problem with that is because a lot of those type of games, like those gacha games, they're kind of designed for you to spend money on it. That makes any sense,
yeah yeah yeah.
right? Because
But I
like
think uh
uh,
huh.
no,
Go on.
but
No, no, go on.
okay. So because like you pay like let's say the in-game currency, right? You use like
Hello.
the in-game currency that hello.
Okay, what did you say? Cause like what?
Because like you know how they can have like in-game currencies,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
like you can pay using those in-game currencies, right?
yeah,
But at some point, like if you want to get like any of the better characters, you actually have to pay with real money because that's how
yeah,
they're kind of designed.
yeah. Yes.
And even if and the thing is that if you pay with like the in-game currency, I don't consider it gambling because you're kind of spending your time with that. You know, if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
Yeah.
You're spending time rather than actual money in order to like
Yep.
basically roll gacha roll for whatever it is that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And this type of game design is actually very popular in like like Asian countries, like in China and Japan.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Japan is like super popular like, when it comes to those like gacha games, and that's why they're called gacha to begin with, right? Because gacha is like a thing from
Yeah.
Japan, I think, and that's how they compare it to.
I think for me,
Mhm.
I'm a bit of the opposite end because I think that whether you use it as for money, I mean outside of the game money, or even in game money, like the game the money, what is it called, the money you have in the game itself without you adding your own money to it,
Mhm.
I still think that's the act of gambling
Okay.
because essentially you're using some sort of like currency value to do something, uh the sort of like gambling because it's like you're using, for example, like, okay, let's take for example Mabel's story.
Mhm.
It's called mesos, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The currency. So for example, I kill lots of monsters. I get like 1,000 mesos, and then I do the roll thing, equivalent to Arc Knights. Like I do rolls to get like some good allies or something like that, and I don't get it,
Mhm.
and I keep paying for it, even though I don't use my own real money. But like you said, using my energy to kind of like grind to get the money again, to gamble on it again. I would still think that's considered as gambling for me.
Okay.
So for me, the aspect of gambling is not the reality of the money itself, but
Mhm.
it's the action.
Oh, okay. I think okay. I think I understand what you mean. Sorry, sorry. Because when you were talking about gambling, I thought you were actually talking about like gambling by law definition. If that makes any sense.
Oh no,
Yeah,
no,
because that's what
no.
I thought. It's like, do you consider like those type of games to be like by law gambling, like something that should be regulated and
Oh,
taxed and so on and so forth?
I think if it's by law, the whole regulation tax thing, yes, that's only if you start using your own real money, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay.
But
So if you're talking about like just using spending like even like let's say mesos or whatever
yeah, yeah,
to the okay, yeah. In that case, I still think it's gambling as well. But
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
because that for me that's not coming from the legal perspective, but it's more of like the what is it called, like addiction perspective. You could still be addicted to gambling but not using your own money,
yeah,
but
yeah,
not
yeah, yeah,
using
yeah.
real life money, right?
Yep, 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 yep.
and
I
i
get it.
think and i think that's what I mean. It's like even though maybe like we say like Arc Knights is not necessarily gambling, like it kind of still is, even if you don't use real money,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because the action of you kind of like doing it,
Rolling and getting like
yeah,
random chances and stuff like that,
or grinding for the game money itself is
and
already considered
then
like an
gambling.
act
Yeah,
of
yeah.
gambling, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But legally, no, it's not considered as gambling. I would think only if you start using only if you start using like your own like state money lah to kind
Yeah.
of, yeah, that would be considered as gambling. Yeah, yeah. I think that's kind of a given. But
Yep.
yeah, EA is not doing anything about it, is it? They're just
I don't
basically
think they
staying.
have. Like recently, from what I've heard from the news, they got like a class action lawsuit from 100 people or something.
Mm-hmm. But
So,
nothing's happening.
but I haven't heard anything since then.
I see. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess we'll just have to see how it works. And I think
Yeah,
if in that sense, like if you say Belgium has already kind of considered it as like a illegal because it's considered as gambling,
yeah,
then
like
does that mean that,
irregulated. I think if I'm mistaken, irregular. They
yeah,
do call it
then
irregulated.
then does that mean that EA can no longer kind of market those features in Belgium?
Yeah, I think so. So, like, I think in Australia they also consider banning those games as well, if I
Oh
remember
shit.
correctly.
Okay.
So I know Netherlands, Belgium, and Australia are like I know Belgium and Netherlands have already considered like irregulated like what do you call it, gambling. Meanwhile, in
Yeah.
Australia and the UK and the US, they're still iffy about that. Like
Yeah.
there's no definitive things yet.
So meaning to say that EA might just be banned, as in like their games can still be sold, but that feature of like paying for loot or paying for what was it?
Uh,
What
Loot
field was it?
boxes, loot
Yeah, yeah,
boxes.
loot or yards or cart packs or whatever cannot.
Yeah,
Yeah, bro.
kind of. I think it was even
Mm,
removed in a country. I can't remember which country it was. I think like one that like I think it was in one of their FIFA games. I think it was that particular aspect of the game was removed.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering if that's
Yeah,
if
yeah.
that's
I think it
illegal,
was
that would
removed. Yeah, if I remember correctly.
can no longer play it anymore. Wow. Okay. So I mean, in a way, EA has kind of dug a hole for itself in a way. If the countries have decided that this is the way to go, like they're gonna ban all sorts of loot related kind of
Yeah.
uh, yeah. Hmm. Okay. Well, I mean, we'll just have to see how it works, I guess,
Yep, yep,
right?
yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's it for my
That's
end.
basically it there. That's also basically on my end as well. I just want to talk about how like this fucking comedy just destroyed
Mm.
a lot of my favorite fucking games.
Oh my God. I think I heard Sims 4 wasn't as good as well. Like all the
Yeah,
people are saying Sims 3 wasn't as good.
Sims 4, it was like basically compared to Sims 3 at least.
Yeah.
Had a lot of missing features.
Yeah, I think it was you, right, who said that in Sims
Yeah,
4
yeah.
the
In Sims
cars still
4,
didn't work.
they had a lot of missing features. What else? They had a lot of missing features. They had a lot of bugs, and then instead of fixing them or adding them, they added
DLCs,
DLCs
which
specifically
is
with Star
stupid.
Wars or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, added into it and it like infuriated people. Speaking of Star Wars, they're all like EA. I forgot to mention this, but EA also has like a exclusive deal with Disney.
Oh my God.
So EA is the only company that can make like Disney games. I think, if I remember
Are you
correctly.
serious?
That's why they have rights to Star Wars.
No, wait, no, not necessarily, right? Because like Kingdom Hearts, there's Disney characters there. I'm pretty sure they need to
Yeah,
have.
yeah, but that's also a deal with like this with Square Enix. So they like what I meant by official Disney games, like Mickey Mouse or like Star Wars stuff
Yeah.
like that. I think they're like EA is the only one who can make it, if I remember correctly. Because
Wait.
Kingdom Hearts technically isn't a Disney game, right? Kingdom Hearts is still Kingdom Hearts. It's like its own game, just with Disney characters added
Oh,
to it.
I get. Yeah, I get what
Yeah.
you're saying.
So like, let's
Oh.
say if you want to make like a Ducktales game, you probably like I think only EA can probably make it. I think.
Yikes, that would suck as well. Like, for example, you're a developer, you want to make that because out of passion,
Yeah.
but and you want to make it on your own, for example, but you can't because you don't have the license for it, and then you
Yep.
have to
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
sign up with EA, and then EA kind of like destroys you as well. That kind of sucks. Yeah.
That's why we haven't seen any Disney games actually. Now that I think about it.
Not only that, but I think nobody can actually. If in my personal opinion, I feel like nobody can actually handle like holding a Disney franchise on their own. Unless they're like billionaires or they're really well equipped with cash, you know?
Mm.
Because I think that's kind of difficult since you're gonna hold like a Disney name for it, you know?
Let's see. 2016, 2017. I'm looking at just official Disney games. So
Is there
the
any
most recent big one
yeah?
was in 2013. Let's
Why is
see.
it Finding Nemo?
No, it's called Castle of the Illusion Star. Castle of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse, which
Ooh, I've
was
never heard of.
a Android mobile game. And then the like
Publisher?
a much more bigger console game. I think it's called Disney Infinity, which I don't think it's that big of a game. The only one I can actually think of is the Epic Mickey series.
But was it EA as well? Is it all under EA? No, right?
No,
Oh
no, no.
yes.
This was before they made their exclusivity deal. That's why they haven't made any like more games.
Oh shit, that must. Oh wow. When was the exclusivity deal?
Exclusivity deal, basically saying like they're the only one who can make Disney shit.
No, but when was it?
I have to check this.
Wow, that must suck. In a way, it's kind of like in a way, it's kind of like that talk we had about Disney and Pixar, you know?
What was in 9 years? Okay, so EA has exclusive rights to Star Wars for 9 years since 2019 January.
2019. Oh my God, it's still a long way to
So
go.
it's like until 2028,
29. Yeah,
28,
28, around there.
28, 2028. Is
Oh
EA
my
owned by
God.
Disney? 6 years ago, Disney signed a deal with Electronic Arts, giving the game publishing giant exclusive rights to video games based on Star Wars. Oh, only on Star Wars. My bad.
Only Star Wars, not
Oh, only on
Disney.
Star Wars. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's good because I feel like I don't think Disney. If Disney were to even make a game, I think they would make it on their own. See, I feel.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But
yeah,
yeah, but even then, like, there's no Disney games like actually made anyway. So because
I
like I
think.
said, the
Uh
only
huh.
big one was in 2013, which was on the Wii.
Yeah, I think it's because like Disney is not really focused on games. They're more like on the entertainment side of like the media of like films, productions, shows, and then their theme parks, right? So I think they're not really too focused on games because they
Which is
know
a
probably.
shame, I think,
I know,
because
I
a
know.
lot of Disney games could, like, the one I remember the most are really fucking good. Considering,
What?
alright, you like Disney games?
Yeah.
Epic
What?
Mickey, for one, is the one I mentioned. Is
Oh, I
Epic
think I've
Mickey was
ever.
pretty good. Like, it's
I
not
think I've ever played that.
great as per se, but like
I think for.
it basically combines like old, like the old art style of Mickey Mouse, like Disney art
Yeah.
style,
Yeah.
along with him having like red pockets and everything, like red pants.
I think for me the most memorable Disney game probably would be the Disney Princess game. It's
Oh yeah,
on GBA, but you basically play as the Disney princesses, and then
yeah,
like they
yeah,
have
yeah.
the cast and shit. And then the other one that I remember the most was Lion King, the GBA game where you play as
Mm.
Timon and Pumbaa. And basically I remember there's this like mini game where you have to run from stampedes. You have to run as
Yes,
fast as you can.
you play as like Simba, right? If I'm mistaken, you have to jump.
Yeah, I think so. And then basically you just don't want to get stampeded, and I always get scared because like I was like shit, they're coming after my ass
And I
behind me.
remember you get thrown by monkeys as well. I think.
I Oh, that one I don't remember.
I think if you
But
jump to monkeys, they basically throw you or something. And if you roar, they
yeah,
change direction.
my God. Yeah, I just remember Pumbaa likes to hit on rocks. So you hit it 2 times or something, and the rocks just disappear, and then you can. That's good times. But yeah, I guess. Is there anything else you wanna say, or we can just move to key takeaways?
No, I think you can go to take the key takeaways. Like I said,
Okay. Yeah.
this particular like piece is just me talking shit about EA.
And me just listening and understanding the concept of like inner gaming
In their
gambling.
video games and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. But yeah. I mean, that's basically what we always do anyway, every other week. But shitting on something. But yeah, for key takeaways, what do you have for key takeaways?
So key takeaway is basically like for those who are not very aware of like video game stuff,
Mm.
right? Uh, it's the companies behind it, especially the bigger ones. No matter how like big or small, it's probably up to like really shady shit.
No
Like
matter
just
how
be
what?
aware. No matter how big or small or how good you think they are,
Yeah.
they're usually like they usually are like have done or are doing like really shady shit.
Whether in the aspect of business,
Whether in the aspect of business or like development or whatever.
employment, or
Yeah.
even just the game itself, or consumer protection wise, is
Mm-hmm.
it?
Yep, yep, yep.
Okay. I think my key takeaway for this is basically for me there's different types of there's different things to consider when you want to say whether something's gambling or not. There's the legal sense, but there's also a more inclusive one where it's more to the addiction to and to the mental being of a person when they play a game, which is including when you gamble with online money, not even with real life money, but virtual games, virtual currency that you don't use real money with. But if you use that to actually kind of like get the gambling activities being done, it's still considered gambling in my eyes.
Mm.
So that's kind of interesting because now setting aside the whole like technology and all like being us advanced and stuff like that in terms of technology, I just think it has become so much more advanced, like trying to determine what's illegal, what's not,
Yeah, exactly.
what's
Especially the
regulated, what's
digital
not.
age. Yeah, especially the
Yeah.
digital age. Like a lot of like very shady shit is happening in here. Cause like it's like nowadays less so, but especially back then where it's like it's what do you call it? It's very wild west of the internet. If that makes any sense, you know.
Yeah, I can tell you that. Yeah,
Mm.
that's true. Yeah. I guess that's all that I have for today. What about you?
No, that's basically it as well.
Okay.
Unless you want to get back to your
Yeah, I think I
next
will. I
topic.
will leave. Yes, I will leave that in the next one after this
Yeah.
recording. But for this one, this episode, thank you so much for listening to our discussion and shit talk about EA. Hope you feel the same way that we do, or if you don't, you could just comment and fight with us why you think EA is good and deserves the Golden Globe Award or whatever. Um, but yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We'll see you guys in the next few episodes. Bye.
Bye.